Okay, prototyping. Prototyping in game dev is supposed to be where you create the minimum core game loop with your game's minimum core mechanics. This should take you a couple days to maybe a couple weeks at most. I say supposed to because, well, I'm horrible at it. Alright, let's get into it. After I finished my first solo indie game, It Is a Good Night to Die, which is on Steam now if you're curious, I gave myself a few weeks of break and then decided it was time to start working towards my next game. Build some prototypes and figure out what came next. My first game was not marketable at all in a genre that is hard to market in the first place. If you want to see how it did, I've got a video link that will break it down. So this time around, I decided to seek out something that could get a bit more traction, a bit easier. When you think of indie games, what's the one genre that comes to mind that is recommended over and over again for years as one of the best types of games an indie dev could make? If you thought, or for some reason said aloud, horror, you'd be right. If you can make a half-decent horror game, it has a good chance of selling pretty well, and they usually have a higher chance of getting content creators to play on their channels. Thus birthed the Everbind Hotel, my first attempt at prototyping for the year. The Everbind Hotel is a game about a courier, you, delivering a package to an old hotel at the edge of the city. The real hook of the game is that you are forced to go floor by floor and figure out the mystery of each one. The hotel exists outside of time and space, so each floor could be an entire different timeline, dimension, era, what have you. One could be a fancy Victorian party, where all the ghosts are frozen at the moment of their death, groaning in pain as you try to figure out what's going on. Another could take place in the trenches of World War I, where something is brutally murdering the members of your troop at night. And if I'm honest, this is one of my better ideas when it came to stories for games. So I dove in and tried to find ways to make my life easier when making this. A year or so back, I had purchased a big Humble Bundle pack that came with the Ultimate Horror FPS kit, which turned out to be pretty rad. It looks good in Unity's high-definition render pipeline. It came with menus, save systems, inventory, health and management, enemy AI, hiding places, a working elevator, jump scares. It's pretty heavy, but I think it's well worth the jumpstart it gives you, especially if you can get it on sale. In any case, I'd already spent over a week and a half just preparing to make this game. And when you've got a full-time job, a family, and yes, even a small bit of a social life, that's a lot of dev time thrown into the ether. When I finally got around to making the hotel lobby, 3D modeling, texturing, all of that, getting the elevator set up, and starting to build out the first room, it had been nearly 2 months of my time, and I quickly began to realize that this game was a much bigger project than I realized. Every single floor would be an entirely new world. Reusing assets would be difficult, and the timeline to get this thing to a playable state was growing more and more. Sadly, even though I loved the idea, the Everbind Hotel went into the backlog, but I'd like to come back to it someday. I thought maybe I'd try working with a friend of mine. The guy who made my Steam capsule for It Is a Good Night to Die is an incredible artist. Anxiety Comics is also just a cool dude. We spent many hours together storyboarding an idea for a Slay the Spire style deck builder where you played rival schools that would fight each other to become top dog. With me doing the code and him doing the art, I think the game had a pretty good chance to draw some attention and become marketable. But schedules didn't line up, and we had to call it quits on the game in general. No hard feelings were had. Life is freaking busy. I have a love for games where you don't directly control any of the inhabitants. Things like Dwarf Fortress, Stonehearth, and Majesty. The idea of the game is that you've retired from your adventure life and you bought some land from the king at a cheap price in exchange for using your reputation as an adventurer to bring in other adventurers to make safe the lands around your tavern or guild. Heroes would travel in from around the lands to your tavern, find jobs on the job board, and journey out to make a name for themselves. They then return, forge friendships and rivalries with other heroes, create parties, spend their hard-earned cash on gear, food, and brewed drinks in your tavern. It's a pretty sweet idea, I thought, but how could I quickly prototype this to see if it had any legs? I know something that in no way could backfire. Now, I'm no fan of where AI is going, and I personally would never intentionally use AI art, but I thought I'd use GitHub Copilot, specifically Claude, to help me build the prototype on the code end. See how the hierarchy and systems work together, and then rebuild all that code base myself from scratch. if the game was fun. Now, AI will make something that works. It did make a little spawn point for my tavern, a job board, and sure enough, the little adventurers would come in, grab jobs, go stand next to an objective till it was done, then come back and collect gold. Like I said, it does work, and the code at a glance seems to be doing everything it should, until you really dig into it and the mess gets bad real fast. I'll never try to build a full prototype again with AI for a few reasons, and I'll break it down. The first one, and kind of most important one to me, is I just didn't like it. The prototype never felt like it was mine, if that makes sense. Just typing a prompt and seeing 2,000 lines of code fill up on your page is probably the most detached from game dev I've ever felt in my life. And to me, indie game dev is about the heart and soul you put into it, and there wasn't any of that just from doing these AI prompts. 2, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors with AI. AI writes its code and its code explanations confidently. Confident enough to fool me at first and say that, yeah, okay, I can see why you did that. But I quickly realized that while I know I code myself in knots often enough, AI will do so 10 times as much. Holy cow, does it add a ton of unnecessary test data. Try catches that do nothing, hundreds of lines of code that it calls a fix because you can right-click in your hierarchy and make it do the thing. It'll create and then delete scripts, and then base the rest of the code it writes on the script it deleted, and then it'll act confused because the script no longer exists, but will say it's done the job anyway. The third one is, it gets tired, boss. If you use the same agent, for lack of a better word, for a project for too long, it starts to slow down dramatically. It will take ages for it to think about a single question, and then you have to kind of reset its brain, and to do that, you have to clear its memory of the entire project, at least from what I could tell. And then it would need to relearn the project, and you can guess how bad that would mess up any further additions to the prototype, and adding tons of redundancy in code it's already written. So that's that. It has its uses, sure, but I think I'd rather just keep using it kind of as a Stack Overflow situation where it just helps me with pain points in the future, where I can just ask it, how can I sort of create this effect? In any case, I came to the conclusion that I had no idea what was happening in the code. It would take too long to unscrew that code. And also just the game scope at its minimal level would take probably, 2 years at least to finish it. All right, on to the next one. Going from trying to get AI to help me to what I think is sort of the opposite. If you know CodeMonkey, he is well known for doing his best to write good, clean code in his own words. And I think it's true, and setting up his code in a way that he could easily make changes to it in the future. I've always enjoyed his work. I've been watching him for years, so I thought I'd try one of his courses. I picked the 12-hour free course for his kitchen chaos type game. My idea was to finish that and then build the base game off his course and then shift it into sort of a Stardew Valley-like situation where you get to know the customers, create relationships, unfold the stories of the world around you day by day. So kitchen simulator by day, friendship simulator by night. As to be expected, CodeMonkey did a great job of explaining step by step everything he did in his code for his course, as well as why he was doing it. I'll say if you're looking for a great place to start learning game dev for free, he's got multiple huge free courses you can check out on his YouTube. It took me, probably 2 weeks to finish his course, squeezing in time when I could. I learned a lot, and even managed to adjust the game from the course to have customers spawn in, approach the counter, order that way. I built a nice little tavern around the kitchen. Honestly, it seemed like a really good start. I can't say why I kind of bounced off this project. I think I hit some walls and how I wanted the game to look. I kind of didn't love what I was making. I mostly just lost interest. But 3 weeks of my time wasn't too bad, and I think I learned a ton from this. I won't go through all the prototypes I tried, because there was a lot. And most of them, I don't even know if you could consider them prototypes. Maybe they actually were, compared to what I have been making. I worked on a survival open world game, a Protect the King type game. I had dreams of making an airship merchant simulator. I wanted to try and recreate the old Lunar Games combat system. If you know what that is, you're old. Congratulations. I spent way too long trying to create a cozy gamer cave creator as well, and that didn't pan out so well. Which brings me to my current project. As a kid, I always loved those old desktop pets you could download and they run around on your screen doing stuff. I had one with like a sheep, and there would be like a UFO that would come take them away. So I had the idea of, well, what if you sort of had like a desktop buddy or adventurer that could double as sort of an idle/incremental game? They'd run around in your taskbar, completing quests, leveling up, chatting with you. You could spend their hard-earned gold on upgrades back at camp, all while you're working, watching YouTube, or doing other things. I found this really cool little pixel character creator called Spum, S-P-U-M. It let me quickly create characters and monsters. It already had a bunch of stock animations set up and ready to go. And it also, as an artist, it was really easy for me to add new animations and graphics if I wanted to. The actual code for this project was fairly simple to set up. I had a prototype up and running in a couple weeks, and wait, holy cow, did I do it? Did I prototype correctly? Well, almost, I think. I've seen a few game devs in recent months taking their prototypes and tossing them up for the general populace to play. I saw Tim Ruswick was doing this, and he made a nice little video about kind of breaking the cycle of making these prototypes over and over again. Bite Me Games, I think, just did it recently for their own incremental game. And I think it's a really neat idea, so I'm stealing it. And this is where I'm asking you for help. I've put the base prototype of this game, Desktop Adventurers, on itch.io. And I'd love it if you could go download the free prototype, run it on your desktop, and let me know what you think. It's a prototype, so it's pretty bare bones, but you can set it up to be an idle game as he finishes quests. See the little guy progressing and leveling, he'll chat with you. I've seen some friends test it out, and now I need some eyes on it that I don't know, and aren't afraid to let me know what they think. Does the game have legs? Is it fun? Are you excited about what could be added? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So that's where we are. I'm fighting myself to not start another project until I see how this one goes. If it goes well, I'll push forward on this project and start adding new cool things to it. If not, then I'll reassess what comes next. But if you're still here, and thanks for sticking around, I'll leave you with 2 takeaways. Manage your prototype timeline. Don't get caught up in adding too much stuff. If the game relies on bells and whistles to be fun, it's probably not fun. As soon as the prototype is ready, get people to play it. Nothing lets you know how your game is than getting people to test it out, which I'm taking my own advice and doing right now. In either case, I'll make an update video on how the testing went, what the process was like, and my final verdict on this Desktop Adventurers game, and whether or not I'll continue making it. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want, and I'll see you all later.